What up, it's Dane here. In this video I'm going to be telling you about insulin, and I'm sick and tired of people telling you the ketogenic diet, oh it doesn't spike insulin, best fat burning diet out there, the low carb diet. I'm sick of this shit. Let's get into the video. Let me reveal this shit once and for all. Okay, so let's start off with the function of insulin. So number one is it controls blood sugar primarily by inhibiting the glucogenesis in the liver. So it basically just controls how much glucose is being produced in the liver, so the insulin basically just acts as the brake, releasing way too much glucose. And number two is that it inhibits lipolysis. Lipolysis is basically the breakdown of fat. And number three is that it stimulates the glucose uptake by the fat cells. And number four is that it stimulates the free fatty acid uptake by the fat cells. And number five is that it decreases the rate of free fatty acid oxidation in a muscle and liver. So now that I've told you that insulin prevents the breakdown of fat, you're probably thinking, okay, so insulin definitely makes us fat. So let me begin to explain this to you. Okay, so insulin is a hormone. So first of all, you need to understand that it does not trap the fat in the fat cells altogether. So what you need to understand that is that insulin actually decreases food intake because insulin is actually a satiety hormone. So actually knocking out the insulin receptors in the brain leads to overeating and obviously therefore leads to weight gain. Plenty of studies have shown us in rodents, which basically means rats, so just keep this in mind. Of course you can't really do this with humans, like you can't just kill something, you know. So you're probably thinking, okay, but if I eat, say, a pizza or something like that, my blood glucose is going to get spiked. It's a high glycemic index food and all this kind of stuff. Now, let me begin to explain all this shit to you. So there's no relationship at all when it comes to insulin and a glycemic response across a wide variety of foods, right? There's some studies that showed white potatoes actually increasing the glycemic response more than Coca-Cola or even white bread, right? So this is bad carb compared to a good carb, right? So you probably think, okay, Coca-Cola is meant to do that. Well, it doesn't. In fact, most of the time people even like differ. Meaning, for example, say I eat white potato, one day my glycemic response will be different to the next day, right? It's crazy. The body is not that simple. Okay, this is the funny one. If insulin made us fat, then why all these bodybuilders and everyone that consumes whey protein, why do they get lean, shredded all year round and stuff like this, right? They consume whey protein. It gives a massive insulin spike, so, you know, why they're not fat? Actually, one very, very interesting study is that it found that a higher insulin response from a meal 2 hours after a meal led to less food intake. So again, insulin, the satiety hormone, leading to less food intake. So the satiety is actually the same compared to, say, a high carb meal and a low carb meal, despite the insulin response. Okay, so we all know that protein makes us feel a lot fuller, and as you may know, I do recommend a higher protein intake. Now the reason being why you're feeling so satisfied is because just like carbohydrates, protein does also increase insulin as well, and that's very highly correlated with the protein intake. That's why high protein intake leads to a lot more satiety. Okay, now some people also claim that, oh, insulin or eating like carbs or whatever, this is going to make me feel really, really lethargic. My energy expenditure is going to decrease a lot. I'm going to burn fewer calories. Well, here's the deal. Higher insulin levels are actually the opposite of what most people think are correlated with a high energy expenditure. So diets with different, let's say, carb to fat ratio does not impact total daily expenditure, meaning it does not impact the fat loss, because like I'll get to later in the video, the calorie deficit, the energy balance is the most important point. Here's another interesting one as well. Fat oxidation is also higher after a high GI, so glycemic index meal. Okay, so as you may know, that protein does, like I said before, increase insulin. However, it also increases glucagon. Now, glucagon is basically the opposing hormone to insulin. And that being said, like a lot of people say, glucagon will affect the stuff in the fat tissue. It does not affect lipolysis in the fat tissue, meaning the breakdown of fat. Again, there is no difference in fat loss between a low carb and a high carb in calorie controlled conditions. Now, when people go on a low carb diet, they may experience a lot faster fat loss or just more adhered to the diet, here's the reason. It is because the protein intake is higher. However, when a protein intake is controlled and the calories are exactly the same, despite a low and a high carb, fat loss is exactly the same. Now let's get on an old ketogenic diet, the new trend going there. Oh, insulin is spikes, is this as good as it's bad? Like, let me tell you all about this now. Now I'm guessing the main reason why people are claiming this ketogenic diet is the special trend is because running on ketones, so ketosis, could actually inhibit appetite. So some studies have shown this, so yeah, just keep it in mind. Which obviously means you eat less, and what happens when you eat less? You're in a calorie deficit. Again, comparing a ketogenic diet to a normal diet, there's no difference in fat loss, it is the same. However, initially a ketogenic diet, like I said, it might be better because it will like basically blunt the appetite. However, over the long run, fat loss is the same. Once again, and realistically, high sugar diets does not cause insulin resistance. Just to clarify, insulin does not prevent us from burning fat. Let me use some common examples that everyone can understand. Okay, let's say I have a calorie maintenance of 2,500 calories per day in order to maintain my weight. Now, out of those 2,000 calories per day, I eat, let's say 95% fat. The rest is like, obviously you just can't eat any foods of just all fat, 0 protein, 0 carb, but predominantly 95% plus from just fat, right? So I'm not eating protein to spike my insulin, and I'm not eating carbohydrates to spike my insulin either. So just by eating fat, let's say I consume 3,000 calories. So I'm still consuming calories in the surplus. Now, do you think my body's just all of a sudden just shed the fat even though I've got an excess of calories? I don't think so, because if you think about it, calories is energy, and when my body has energy, it's going to use that instead of burning the fat. It's so simple. So stop complicating yourself over insulin. It's not a bad hormone like most people think it is, and it really doesn't even make sense when people say it's going to prevent you from burning fat or all this kind of shit. Like, it doesn't even make sense. So anyway, that's the end of the video. And also, like I used an example before, whey protein, if the glycemic index and all this shit is so bad, you spike your blood sugar, and the next moment you're going to be very hungry. Then why all these bodybuilders that are taking whey protein day in, day out, maybe 2 to 3 shakes, are still shredded? Maybe because they're in a calorie deficit. Energy balance, adherence to a diet, drop the mic, let's go, I'm out. Stay positive, stay smiling. Let me know if you enjoyed this informative video, because I'm sick and tired of people claiming this, the ketogenic diet, it doesn't spike insulin, feeling great all day and all this kind of bullshit, low carbs the best. And also carb backloading. Remember that, man. If you don't eat carbs in the morning, your body's going to run on a fatty acids and you're going to break down the fat. Nevertheless, you could probably be in a calorie surplus and still shed fat. What a lot of bullshit. I'm out. Love you guys. See you in the next one.